Oh, okay. Now I see the video. So we're live right now, and hi to everyone. So let me just share. Let me just recap what I was saying yesterday. That is, I'm keeping this live streaming session to half an hour at most, around there, half an hour, and I'm not going more than that since I'm not really sure what I can talk about. Let me just check if the saying yesterday. All right, great. That's right. So the audio is there, the vision is there, and everything's up. Okay, so what I was sharing is that we're just keeping it to half an hour session every day. By the way, I just got back to my apartment and trying to do some work right now and trying to do some live streaming. So my goal right now is to hopefully I can do some live streaming and I can do my work at the same time. So the work that I'm handling right now is the work that is pertaining to regarding this tuition near me. And if you haven't been to my channel before, let me just explain what exactly is tuition near me. All right. So tuition near me is this edtech platform that I designed and developed. And basically what it allows people to do is that tutors will be able to create live or recorded lectures, design their own assessment, and market it to students. So you can offer these courses for free, or you can offer these courses for free, or you can offer these courses at a price to the students. And right now, Tuition Near Me is really targeting these students in Southeast Asia. And the reason why I am building in Southeast Asia is because according to the United Nations statistics, more than 40 million people in Southeast Asia lack quality access to good education, high quality program, and and this is why high quality program, and this is why I hope that by building this particular platform, this edtech platform, I'll be able to go on a journey with educators from all over the world and to provide to create and provide a quality access to quality education to these people in Southeast Asia. And 40 million is a lot of people. And the thing is, by value adding through this way, right, I believe that educators can earn substantially well too. And there's so many different types of courses that you can create and sell on this tuition near me. And there's different ways of structuring the courses because you can have a recorded lecture. You can design your course in such a way that it's filled up with recorded lectures. Then after each recorded lecture, you can have a small assignment, a small quiz, and this small quiz can be made up of MCQ questions. It can be made up of essays. By the way, it can be made up of a different question types that allow the system to mark the questions automatically after the student completes the course. All right. But if you opt for designing the assessment in the form of an essay, then you will have to mark the essay yourself because essay is different, you got to pick up the nuances from the essay. And sometimes, even if I were to design artificial intelligence to tackle this problem, right, the nuance is an issue because there are different types of nuances from different cultures. So, but maybe I'll consider that if you guys think that this is an important function. But at the moment, the most important function is it allows you to create recorded lectures, and then you pair it up with some small quiz to test the students' understanding. Then right after that, you can pair it up in a series of small quizzes and courses, recorded lectures, and you can schedule a live session with the student. So in case they have some questions to ask, then you can help them during this live session, or you can design it in a way that is a fully live session. So every time you just meet up and with them online and provide the live session to them. So that is one way and another to go about it. So apart from designing courses in this way, the marking is mostly 90% automated. So it relieves the teacher, the tutor of all these kind of marking exercises, reduces their workload burden. Then on top of that, you can structure the courses in the way that you deem you want. You can structure the courses so that the student can progress along your courses in different with different levels of difficulties. For example, if you design a course that is comprises of 4 mini courses, and the first one is the easiest, the entry level, the last module is the most difficult, and can design it in such a way that the prerequisite for to getting to take up the last module is to attend the previous 3 courses with uh, 70% passing rate, 80% passing rate, 90% passing rate is up to you. Then at the moment, if we don't have a discussion board for the students, but if you are interested, we can design that for you so that after every module there's some question and answer. They can type that question and you can answer the question accordingly. And at the moment, I'm trying to work on the discussion board. We're trying to work on a discussion forum for all the students, parents, and teachers who are currently on the Tuition Near Me platform right now. And at the moment, I would say that the visit rate is pretty healthy. I was working on something and I just shifted it away. I don't know if I saved the work. But anyway, I'll just check on it later. Okay, so we have this forum, discussion forum that quite a number of parents, students, they come over to make use of it, and I'm trying to get more people involved in this. So what I'm trying to do is that we are going to design the discussion board in such a way that we're going to structure we're going to design the discussion board in such a way that it's going to be categorized according to the different countries in Southeast Asia. Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So, and the thing is, well, this is just my thinking at the moment, but in order to foster more discussion, I am thinking of structuring the discussion board in such a way that for example, the Thailand discussion board would be fully in the Thai language. The Malaysia discussion board would be fully in Malay, Bahasa Melayu, and the Indonesia discussion board will be fully peppered with discussion topics in Bahasa Indonesia. So that is the way I'm trying to go about it. And I think that at the moment, this should be the right way to go about it, because not everybody uses English as a language to communicate in Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia is made up of many countries, and each of these countries, they have their so-called national language. And even though they have national language, right, a lot of the people within these countries, they don't really speak using the national language. They actually speak with their dialect. So every district, every province have their own dialect, which can be very different from one another. For example, in Philippines, I know that it's not just Tagalog and Bisaya, it's the Bisaya dialect. There's so many more. There's few hundreds over dialect languages in Philippines. But the lucky thing about Philippines is that most of them know how to speak very good English. So this is one thing that unites them. But even though they are not a homogeneous country. They are made up of different types of people who speaks different dialects, and each with their own culture. So it is very challenging to manage the education system over there. From what I heard, it's very difficult to manage the education system over there, because at the province level, at the town level, you have education that is being carried out in different dialects and different languages, all right? Not all of them are conducted in English. Then after that, when you proceed from the town to the province and so on, right, the language changes and eventually changes to English. And when you learn your mathematics and your sciences in a particular dialect, then you suddenly switch over to be assessed in another language. And even if you are given a few years, 2 to 3 years to learn that language to tackle the exam, you are clearly at a disadvantage when compared to the local speakers. So when you want to compare, like you go to the national level, and there are people who are much more proficient in English, and you happen to be not so proficient in English, even though you have the same aptitude to sciences and mathematics, you may not be able to fully express yourself in those language in the English language. And at the same time, you aren't able to get the exact meaning of the problem. And that's when the problem sets in. It's the same for mathematics, it's the same for sciences. It's not just the English language exam. Because even for mathematics, right, it's not only about numbers, it's also about uh, tackling the problem sums. And these problem sums, they are structured in the English language. For example, they'll say that, oh, a particular rocket is flying at certain speed. Then after that, it encounters certain gravitational force and it slows down by so and so, by what rate. And then now, if based on the normal trajectory of the travel path to from Earth to Mars, how it originally takes about, I don't know, 3 months, for example. But based on these changes in the gravitational force and how it affects the speed, how much longer will the travel path be, or how much faster will the travel path be? How many days less or more will it take to travel from Earth to Mars? So if you aren't able to understand exactly what the question is asking in English, then it's clearly that you might lose a few points here and there. And losing a few points here and there is very important when you're competing at a very high level. So if you're just, you're not at the national level, you're at the township level or something like this, competing among few thousand people, 10,000 people, 100,000 people, then the competition is not that strong. So you have a lot of people who are very happy with getting just a passing mark, 49%, 50%. Once they get 50, 51, they feel like they're the master of the universe. But when you get to the national level, that's when you get near to the national level, that's when the competition sets in, and every advantages count. Your grasp of certain languages in the language that the exam is being assessed, and many other things. Your rest, how well are you resting? Are you financially equipped to eat well, so rest well and keep yourself healthy so that you can perform at your best level? And when you're competing with another student who is competing at that level, right, every single point counts, every 0.5 marks count, every 0.1 marks count, because it can be a difference of 0.1 marks that make him number one and you become number two. And the difference between number one and the number two is because when you are at the ultra competitive level, right, a lot of people are gunning for number one, and being the number two can sometimes make you feel like a loser. Sometimes, not all the time. Some people, they are very happy to settle in as number two, but most of the time, the best advantages and benefits go to the first place. So the competition is very high, and anyway, it's not about, so the purpose of today's topic is not about it's not about the students who are competing at the top 1%. Rather than that, right, I want to focus on on students who are beyond this 1%. Students who clearly don't have enough advantages as compared to some small group of students. As I said earlier, there are many people in Southeast Asia that lack access to proper. Oh, right, okay. So now let me just give an update. We have about 860 people online right now, and I'm trying to grow this. Okay, and I'm trying to grow the discussion forum in a way as organic as possible. So anyway, back to what I was saying. I want to build this platform in such a way that more educators can come in to contribute their expertise. And in fact, the thing is, a lot of people from people who are native speakers of certain languages, right? So, for example, Americans, okay. So a lot of some Americans feel that if you teach English as a language, I mean, in America itself, okay, if you teach English as a subject, um, that is basically considered as a little bit useless. Because why do you even need to teach the English subject when where everybody in US is speaking in English, and it's so common that people think and when people see that you are teaching English, they think that you are useless. And let me just bring this conversation high to be a little bit higher level. So to all the countries that I've been to, I've witnessed the same thing over and over again. If you are based in the Middle East and you teach the Arab language, then you are basically considered like useless. If you are based in Japan, you're brought up in Japan, you are Japanese and you teach the Japanese language, you are basically considered a useless member of the society. The same thing goes for Chinese or Korean. If the Chinese teaches Mandarin in China, he or she will be considered useless, worthless. But the thing is, the value, your value does not only come from a single place. And just because you are based in China doesn't mean that uh, your Chinese skill is useless, right? Because there are many people around the world who are interested in learning Mandarin, the Mandarin language. And if you offer your Mandarin classes to people in Southeast Asia, I bet you there will be a lot of people who are interested to take it up. If you offer your English language classes in Southeast Asia, equally same people will want to take it up. And why? Because most of the opportunities are in China, are from China and from the English speaking societies. And increasingly, there are many, many more job opportunities and work opportunities and many, many other types of opportunities that are coming out from China. And you need to have a certain level of proficiency, Mandarin proficiency, in order to make use of these opportunities. And of course, if you are based in Korea and Japan, people in Southeast Asia, they love to take up those kind of languages. Why? Because the Korean pop, K-pop is huge in Southeast Asia. It's huge around the world, but it's huge in Southeast Asia. And I wouldn't imagine that will be the case in in places like Malaysia and Indonesia. But yes, the girls love K-pop, right? and and because of this K-pop, they are very interested to learn about the Korean language. And because they are interested to learn about the Korean language, the teacher who teaches Korean is actually, he or she can be a broker for many opportunities in the future, because as a native of either Malaysia or Indonesia, especially Indonesia, you have access to so much natural resources, so much. Indonesia, they have so much tin, they have so much nickel, they have so much alloy minerals. Like Germany, they produce like so many branded cars, right? Volkswagen, Mercedes, and so on. But Indonesia, they produce so much food. And if you were to give me a choice, okay, right. So it depends on which stage of life you are at, but naturally, food is definitely more important than cars at the lower spectrum of the Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? So if you are able to fulfill most of your food, your salary, and all this, then you go for the cars and so on. But ultimately, all in all, right, food is important. So Indonesia has so much food. They have so much uh, shrimp, seafood. But the thing is, climate change is changing the landscape in Indonesia right now. So Indonesia used to produce a lot of streams. So you got a lot of streams in the natural river. So many of it. So a lot of these villages, they will go and harvest these streams, and they will pound the streams. They will dry the streams. Sometimes they will sell it in the dried form. Then other times they will pound the streams into a paste, and they will mix it with a certain kind of spice that is extremely spicy, like out of the roof spicy, right? And they mix it up, the chili powder, the spices with the stream, and they call it the belacan. The belacan is like a very dreadful word to me. It means that if I take a bite of a spoonful of this belacan, my head is going to shoot through the roof. But it tastes so good, right? It tastes so good. And a lot of these Indonesians, they love their belacan. So what these villagers do is that they will harvest all these streams, like what I said, they pound it and then they mix it up with the chili sauce. Then they let it preserve for some time, and they sell it to the fellow Indonesian locals, and a lot of people buy it. But the thing about climate change is that now a lot of these streams are decreasing in their population because of the warmer water. Then in addition to that, there's also some market dynamics as well, because of some private enterprises that have come and partner a lot of these villages, offering a certain incentive for for their efforts in mining certain alloys like tin. All right, tin is a very important, is a very hot topic in Indonesia. All these minerals, they are a very important topic in Indonesia right now. Tin, nickel, gold, bauxite, and so on. And so these private enterprises, they come, set up shop in near to these rivers, and they offer certain incentive to the villagers, telling them that, hey, go mine for us, right? Find some tin for us, and in exchange for that, we'll provide you with money. Okay, we'll provide money in exchange of the tin or the alloy, whatever that you have. So these villagers, understanding that there's much more better money in mining for tin, because when you're creating the belacan, there's apparently phases to it. When you harvest a stream, you actually have to let the stream rest for a while, some of the remaining streams to rest, so that they can repopulate the river. So you can't just harvest everything at one go. Otherwise, the shrimp population will just entirely vanish and you will lose your source of income. So they have to let the shrimp population to rejuvenate. Then once it rejuvenates, you harvest again, and that takes time. All right, the rejuvenation takes time. Rejuvenation of the population takes time, and you got to pound the thing. That's a lot of work, and you got to mix it with the spices. You got to harvest the spices. It doesn't come from the supermarket. All right, you got to harvest the spices, and you got to pound the spices. And after you pound the spices, you've got to mix them up and you've got to repound them again. So it's a lot of work. You've got to harvest things from the river, you've got to harvest things from the forest, you've got to pound them. And apparently, the villagers, when weighing the pros and cons and the money that's involved, right, a lot of them have already abandoned this production of belacan and they have opted to mine tin because tin pays much more and is and they have an abundance of tin in those areas. It's the same area where the streams are, and you would think, but you would think that okay, so the villagers are not harvesting the streams anymore, so the streams are safe. But apparently that's not so, because when Indonesia is facing a lot of heat waves right now, and these heat waves are affecting the water temperature and is somewhat affecting the sea life, the marine lives in the river and in the ocean as well. Then in on top of that, you have villagers who go to mine more of this tin. And when they mine more of this tin, it somehow or rather changes the geographical structure of the terrain. And when it changes the geographical structure of the terrain, and mining is an activity that requires a lot of water, right? And it changes on top of using a lot of water, and you got to stream all this water from the river, from the ocean, and so on. Then after that, it changes the geographical structure. So sometimes the entire ground becomes very loose, and when it becomes loose, right, that's when mine collapse happen. That is because you over mine without the appropriate safety structures. So as you mine downward, right, you're supposed to set up structures in order to prop the entire mine up. And if you're filled with greed and just want to continue with your operation without putting in the safety factor, the deeper you mine, the less support you have, and that's when the entire ground becomes weak and the mine collapses. And when you mine, right, even though you're mining in this particular area, it somehow or rather affects the other area as well, because all the areas, when we are looking at the ground, right, there's actually groundwater below the ground. And when you're mining certain portion, the groundwater actually shifts and it affects the ground in other areas as well. So it's very technical, but well, it is technical. I'm just sharing the technical part of it. And when this happens, right, when over mining happens, no matter what, as you do mining, it will change the geographical structure and the water shift. And once the water shift, and the volume of water in some river might decrease. Sometimes it might increase, but no matter what, if it decreases by too much or it increases by too much, it affects the shrimp population. So mining is considered as an environmentally detrimental activity. And we got to think of new ways, but the mining industry is already thinking of new ways to perform their operation in a more environmentally friendly manner. But I haven't updated myself on what is the latest mining technique right now, as of now. I used to be very involved in all these things because I do a lot of research in ESG, and previously I was in public policy in Singapore's ministry, and I do a lot of research in all of these things. And I actually teach. I teach a lot of people. I teach a lot of high flyers from the different government bodies within the Singapore civil service. So I teach a lot of this, like, project management and handling of the feedback. When you're developing a certain kind of product, you must have feedback sessions, get the feedback from the users, and then build it into your system. So anyway, so back to this. So the harvesting of the stream is being affected by all these things. So in the near future, right, or maybe in the mid future, we may not have any blood channel anymore, and the marine life composition within those rivers and the ocean bed might change. And don't be too sure that it won't change. Don't be too sure that everything is going to stay permanent, it's going to stay the same as it is, and it's not going to change. No, nothing is permanent. Things will always change. So, talking about change, right? So, we have the power to make changes in Southeast Asia. And if more educators are able to make use of Tuition Near Me's platform to create more causes for these people, they have access to internet, all right? They're not just some forest people who are wearing some twigs and grasses to cover their private parts and so on. They have access to the internet, and some of them may be living in houses that's bigger than yours. Yeah, I'm not joking. But of course, it may not be as well made as yours, but the high possibility the house is bigger than yours. And anyway, apart from that, okay, so educators, I hope that you can jump on the bandwagon and provide your expertise to people, especially to children, to the children who are living in these areas. They really lack access to quality education. Okay, they may be living in houses bigger than you, but they may not be as well off as you. They may not be as prosperous as you. And the reason why you're more prosperous than them is because it might be attributed to you having better education. And because you have better education, as a person who's being well brought up, you should share your expertise and your mentorship with these people, benefiting them so that they in turn can enjoy better employment opportunities as well. All right. So anyway, that's the end of the live stream. I told myself that the session is just going to be half an hour, and now it's 12:39 and I've exceeded by 10 minutes, which means I have been talking for the past 40 minutes. But I enjoy this kind of live streaming because as I talk it out, right, and I share more about what I'm building in Tuition Near Me, I get new insights as well. I get new thinking, fresh thinking, and if you have any feedback about using or about this Tuition Near Me platform, feel free to type your question on the YouTube chat box, right? So this YouTube chat box, yeah, just type your question and I will try to answer them. And if you have any functions that you would like to see on the Tuition Near Me EdTech platform, feel free to put it down in the chat. Tell me what you need to help you to create more quality content for these students, and I will do my best to build for you. All right. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you the best time ahead. Thank you.